Everybody knows this gentleman from the #1 game show of all time. He's been on the Wheel of Fortune since 1981. Filling in for Regis Philbin this week on Regis and Kelly. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Mr. Pat Sajak! Mr. Pat Sajak! Having headphone problems. Morning, sir. How are you?
That's right. These are highly technical devices. I speak into this?
Yes, you do.
Like you
know what you're doing. You've been doing TV and radio for hundreds of years.
I did. Yeah, it's going on that. Yeah, I started in radio.
In radio,
yeah. I did a lot of that stuff. Of course, I grew up in a different era where if I said hell or damn, I would be looking for work. So.
Right. Definitely the hose is definitely
that would be certainly questionable.
Do you have any thoughts on this? I don't know why it's the biggest news story, but nationally it is. Do you have any thoughts on the Imus incident?
I'll tell you why it's the biggest news story. It's because if you watch the 24-hour cable news networks, they have to have a bigger story.
You're right.
It's a big story until something else happens, and then this won't be the big story anymore.
Right.
You remember Gary Condit? He was the big story. And then something happened to the city, and he was.
So, do you have any feeling about it as you hear people argue back and forth?
I'm approaching this from a sort of a geezer perspective. I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm from an era. Look, frankly, that's not my cup of tea. That kind of, I'm not comfortable in that world. I do it because times have changed, and
So you're not a thug, is what you're saying?
I'm not a thug, but
gotcha, okay.
And do I think that was tasteless and senseless and crude and all that stuff? Yeah, absolutely. Should it be? I don't think it's something that should be said, but I think you got to be real careful when you start saying you can say this and you can't say that. The market's got to decide. I don't want to decide. I don't want the government to decide. I don't like it, and if enough people don't like it, they won't listen. And I'll tell you something else that people don't talk about. To be serious for a second, these Rutgers women, I know, were humiliated by this, but they were not humiliated because Imus said it on the air. Imus, with all due respect to Don, has a relatively small audience, and he does stuff like that all the time. And that would have been gone, and it was gone. It's into the ether. No one remembers it, and they only remember it. And these women were only embarrassed because I heard it on ESPN 40 times. I heard it on every newscast. It's printed in every newspaper, and it's those women's noses are rubbed in it, and that's what's humiliating to me. So, it's a very complicated issue, but I get real nervous about setting the rules because it's going to come back and bite these guys if they start trying to have guidelines, because if they're going to shift all the time.
That's what makes me nervous.
And again, the PC police here's a little game they play. If you don't condemn him and say he should be off the air, then you agree with him.
You're right. You're on his side, right?
And I'm not. No. But that doesn't mean it's one or the other. So that's my little speech on that.
Once again, give it up for
hey. And another thing. And if I'm elected.
I didn't know that you were going to be in studio, but just the other day your name was brought up, and we knew that you have done radio, and you're filling in for Regis. You filled in for Larry King, and you've done the game show. I'm sure the game show is paying the most money, but we were wondering what's the most fulfilling.
You mean more than this? More than I'm getting today.
Right. Yes, I know for sure on that one. What's the most fulfilling, though? And we're not knocking it, but
I know exactly.
And you're a very bright guy, so I'm wondering. We were arguing out. This guy was saying, "I would love to have his life," and I was saying, "I wonder if Pat sometimes misses, though, more of a Larry King type show, or doing what he's doing with Kelly Ripa."
You know what happens. Here's the mindset you get into. I've been doing it for a long time, and I would be the first. I would never argue. I mean, I understand that there, on a sort of a creative sense. There's less of it with wheel because it's a game. You're playing hangman. We're spinning a giant wheel. We're saying you want to buy a vowel, and there's a certain sameness to it. But I got to a point, and I dealt with that for a while. I said, I don't know what's going to happen. I've done it for 10 years. Can I do this for 10 more? And I have. But you get to a point, and you suddenly something clicks, and you realize that why I'm getting the big bucks is that I can do it. I can do my 6,000th show and not make it look or feel like it. I think that's,
you get to use your personality.
So it's kind of it's I don't know if it's a skill or a talent or whatever it is, but I think I have that ability, and I think that's the key. And it's not new and different every day, but every show is different, as corny as that sounds. All these people are different, and all the circumstances are different, and the key is to make it look like you're not doing anything. And the biggest compliment you get is, "Boy, I could do that."
Right.
You're supposed to be able to say that.
And as these shows come and go, and there's been a ton of them, as they pop up do you say, joke? It's not gonna compare. Here's another one.
Well, there are a lot of television is cyclical and all these phases, and these things get hot and then they get cooled off. The nice thing about us is we've never been hot. Look, we're looked on as kind of we're not exactly an edgy show, and it's kind of hokey and all that kind of stuff.
You should do that in a couple nights. It comes up nappy-headed hose. Just to really shock
the
the world.
only question I have is what's the category?
That's up to you, Pat. I just throw ideas out.
That's why you get the big bucks, right?
No, we try to stay away from current events as much as possible.
That's what the issue is, current events.
Right, topical,
but because we're not edgy and because we've never been like this hot. This is the show you got to see. It's hard for us to burn out. We're there. We're like the sunset. Even if you don't watch us every night, it's nice to know we're out there. So it's kind of a comfort food, and it's been a good deal.
Now, do you hang out with any of the other game show hosts?
We have a
Martindale, Bob Eubanks.
We have a condo here in the city.
A condo in the city.
Yeah, we all live together, and we exchange stories.
What's
it's
the deal
really
with
fun. What's the funniest thing that happened to you today, Chuck?
Right. Chuck Woolery, how many facelifts has the guy had?
Leave his face alone.
I'm saying he's had like 11. He looks like an alien right now. Is he doing anything right now?
Do you know Chuck's always worked.
I know.
Chuck's doing something on the game show network called Lingo, which is actually not a bad game. I like Chuck, and I think he's pretty good at what he does. Sure. The hardest thing about being Chuck Woolery, and I've talked to him about this, is there's not a day in his life that goes by where people said, "Yeah, aren't you sorry you left that show?" So he's got to deal with that all the time.
Back in 2 and 2.
Yeah, and who knows? You make these decisions and you move on. And what's he going to do about it? So, but that's got to be the biggest. Just that he's got to deal with that question all the time.
Right.
Once again, Pat Sajak in studio. It's Free FM. How have you been able to stay out of any controversy? It seems like anyone that's been in, the entertainment business for longer than 4 or 5 years is going to do something, even if it's in their private life, or eventually going to see, your mugshot.
And it's getting scarier. And the straight answer is I'm a relatively boring human being. I mean, I have a nice life, I have a nice family, and that's it. And that's why. And I don't.
You never got caught up into any partying or anything. I mean, because it offers so much. That popularity does offer a lot.
It really is. I think part of it is, we talked about starting in radio. Part of it is it's not like I was packing groceries one week and the next week I'm as a gazillionaire. I mean, that's what happens with young athletes. I mean, they're kids in school struggling to make ends meet. Suddenly, here's $12 million, and they expect them to become normal human beings. Yeah. It's very hard to do that. So I've had sort of a gradual climb, so that helped a little bit. Also, I wear disguises when I go to porn shops, so that also
I knew that was you.
Is it helpful? I'll tell you, the scariest.
I think he wears disguises in porn movies. I know that. I'm like, I know that's him.
Oh, Vanna.
That's right. I'm on the Jenna Jameson diet. I know. But the scariest thing for us quasi-celebrities now is this cell phone business. The camera. Everyone carries a camera, and I'm telling you, I'll be at a bar with friends, and a woman will sit next to me, and I'll look around for camera phones because all it takes is I lean over for the salt, and someone snaps a picture.
The salt between her cleavage,
Are you using that sweet and low packet?
Don't drop it.
You have to be real careful, and they're out there. I love people with cell phones because they pretend they're not taking a picture. They're stretching, they're yawning, and they're snapping. So it's kind of scary out there. But I do. There's no doubt this business has a great allure to go wrong. I mean, you got a lot of money, and people recognize you, and they want to do things for you, and there's a lot available to you. Right. And it's no wonder that people fall off.
What's your thing? I know when I had some money for a moment, I just loved buying motorcycles. Do you have anything that?
I'm a big sports fan, and I buy a lot of tickets. I have season tickets to Dodger games, and I don't live in Los Angeles.
You've got a baseball radio show, right?
I did for a long time. I finally gave it up. It was just, it just was for MLB radio. I did one for about 3 years, and I loved it because I could pretend I was a jock once a week, talk to managers and players and all that. But I love. So I spend an obscene amount of money on suites and seats and dugout seats. But it's my I'm not a big car guy. I'm not I don't walk around with diamond pinky rings and all that stuff. So I have to spend it somewhere. So that's my big. For
the people that cannot see Pat Sajak, and that's all of you, he does have a big studded diamond cross.
Yeah. What is that?
No,
What are you,
hanging
P.
down,
Diddy?
and a couple of spinning rims on his chest. Now, this is our buddy Gary. I don't know if you believe in psychics at all or not, but I'm going to ask you first about Pat Sajak. For the next 3 lifetimes, will he hear do-do-do-do?
Yes.
And wonder what is that sound?
Do you know I actually have something installed when I go in the bathroom when I lower my fly? That sound.
But it's more like just a boop. Just kidding, Pat.
Yeah. So psychics, I don't know. I don't put much stock in that, but I'm not insulting.
Neither
you.
do our listeners. Don't worry about it.
And nobody does, and it's his thing. And I love. Can I tell you quick? Can I tell you a quick psychic?
Of course. Please.
Yeah.
I shouldn't tell.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So my Vanna White, who's on the show,
My Vanna, you said. Tell us what's up.
She kind of buys into that stuff. She kind of likes that stuff.
Sure.
So years ago, she was dating a man she eventually married. And I was dating a woman I eventually married and to whom I'm still married. And this was 18 years ago.
Right.
And she was just dating the guy, and it was in some of the tabloids, and she's a little more tabloid oriented than I am.
Sure.
People, people latched onto that, and she was in some of those things with him. Anyway, she's going to go see the psychic. I said, don't go see it. She said, I want to see this. I want to see how my relationship's going to work out. Like this guy who lives in this trailer is going to tell you. So, and that's another
Might
thing.
have been Gary.
That's another thing. If they know all this stuff,
Big white trailer.
why do they always live in crummy places?
And
You
this
think-
guy does
Is it
it.
a double wide?
This guy's in Ojai. He's
Really? Okay. Because
Yeah.
most of them, have these crummy storefronts or some trailer somewhere, and
right.
you'd think they'd know enough to have a good stock tip, but they you know.
That's not me.
He's successful.
So we go to this woman, and it's not in the finest part of town, and it's a little scary, and we get to the thing. So her bit was she would sit there and it's kind of gypsy-ish looking, and
Right.
with a pad in her hand, she would draw circles on the
see.
pad while she's looking at you. That was, I don't know what that gave her, but anyway, your aura would come out.
Oh, I see.
So she's. Now, keep in mind, Vanna's been in the tabloids with this guy. So now she's saying, you have a friend, and a new man in your life, and he has dark hair, and he's tall. And Vanna's like enthralled by this.
Right.
And I leaned over to one point and I said, why are we here? You know he has dark hair. What is he telling you? Why? So she, and of course they do that to try to establish a little credibility.
Of course.
Anyway,
Right.
it goes on, and you're going to be happy, and you're going to be this, and she was right on most things because most of it was in the paper.
Right. So she just read it.
And it's sitting right there in front of you, the paper.
So I say,
She's drawing circles around Vanna's face.
so I'm a little more skeptical, and I'm a little more quiet about my private life. So I haven't been in the papers, but I'm dating this woman. So I said, hey, why don't you do my chart while we're here?
Sure, right.
And there's this look of panic in this woman's eyes.
no.
Yeah. So she starts drawing her circles, and she goes, well, you're dating a girl, and she has blonde hair. Well, she didn't. And she's short. No, she isn't. And everything she said was wrong.
Right.
Because she didn't read in the paper.
No
so
research.
Afterwards, I have the sense of victory, and I go to my friend, and Ms. White, and I say, see? And she goes, yeah, but he knew she had dark hair. So
Yeah,
if
one
they
little
want
thing.
to, if they want to believe it, they believe it.
You're
So
right.
having said all that,
Good luck, Gary.
now that you know the stock I put in, I understand. And you know what? The other thing is, and I don't mean to say the charlatans, but we all.
You just did it.
Oh, yeah, I did. Didn't I? I know I didn't. I said it, but I said I didn't mean to say it. You can get away. You know what people do? They go, I hate to say it, but, and then they say something horrible.
I shouldn't say this, but man, you're an a-hole.
If you ever have anything bad printed about you in the paper, all your friends will bring it to you. So, look at this horrible thing they said about
You're
you.
right.
Anyway,
I don't agree with this, but read it. Did you read it?
You are a jerk.
It's all
it says.
highlighted.
But for some reason, people want to think that somehow someone can tell them what's going to happen. So you sort of have a built-in, So I would love to hear something good about myself. So go ahead.
Okay, here's what I
Lie to
see.
her.
I just see him redoing a yard. I just see him doing. That's what I read. Fair enough.
I came here for this.
Yeah. I mean, I think he.
I'd settle for a lousy T-shirt.
No, I think he's.
We
I
got
think
it.
he's more. I think you're very kind. I think he's got a great heart, but I think he's fairly dull.
He's taking a shot at you because you get him, Gary.
You know.
Say game show hosts are charlatans.
Well, no, I think in his personal life, he's very good with friends, and he does a lot for your friends. I see you just doing all
You
this
should
stuff.
see my yard.
What is it?
It's been done.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Every day I go out there, I write a check, I hand it to the gardeners. It's absolutely.
And that's what I see.
And I lead a quiet life. My valet puts my pants on one leg at a time.
Wes Butler, yeah. Sweet.
Dull. He called me dull.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not why I came to the. Oh, I didn't come to him. He came down.
You had no choice.
All right, do you have anything else?
The exciting thing, I see a boat coming to him.
A boat?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. So I do yard work and have a.
No, you don't do yard work, but I
On
just
the boat?
I see a great yard, and I see you redoing all this stuff, and it's really great looking.
Is there room for the boat in my yard?
No, but
No.
Have you been? I got to ask. Have you been thinking about a boat?
Well, I own a boat.
Oh.
Now I live in Maryland most of the year. My wife's family's from there, and that's where we
Okay.
live, near Annapolis. And you almost have to have a boat. It's like a state law or something.
see. Yeah.
So we bought this boat and we moved. And I found out one thing: I don't like boating. So the boat sits out there, and I swear to you, we've had it for 10 years. And have never used it.
Oh.
Every winter, the guy comes and winterizes and puts
Yeah.
that little shrink wrap around.
Sure,
it.
right.
And then every summer he takes a shrimp wrap off, and then he summarizes it, and that's it. That's all I do. So I do own a boat.
Okay, good.
There you go. So
Money down the
it's
drain.
amazing.
I'm telling
Amazing.
you.
aren't you amazed?
I didn't know. Yeah, see, I didn't know you had a boat.
A
sitting
boat
there.
and a yard.
I see you getting a new boat though.
A new boat.
Even
Why?
though
That's what he's got.
no, I know, but I see a different boat coming to
Well,
him.
it could be. Maybe I'll go out and get myself one.
Okay, good.
All right, Pat Sajak, we appreciate it. Now, how long are you going to be filling in for Regis? Because he's going to die soon, right?
Oh, he might have already died.
You know I'm joking.
Oh, I know you are. But I'm obligated to go. Oh.
I want his gig. Oh.
No, it's you asked earlier about Wheel and doing different shows.
Yeah.
Sitting in for Regis, I do it 3-4 times a year. I come in and do it, and that's enough for me. I do like doing that kind of thing, but you know what? I like doing it 3 or 4 days and leaving it for them to do the rest of the time. So I'll be there through the end of the week and having a good time. Kelly's great to work with.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to know from me?
No, that's
Am I dismissed?
yes, you are.
can go,
It wasn't
sir.
so bad, was it?
No. If I thought it would be bad, I wouldn't be here. I actually
That's right.
I actually like you guys.
Thank you.
And we like you as well.
right.
Pat Sajak,
Yes,
everybody.
ladies and gentlemen.
Doghouse, back in a moment.
Doghouse with JV and Elvis.
The Doghouse will be right